Welcome to the second video installment of Path to Casual. This time I'm doing a visual guide of draw spells in green. And I do mean draw spells. I'm not going to sit and focus on Elvish Visionary and Wall of Blossoms because they are cantrips with bodies and are pretty well known. No, I want to focus more on cards in green that actually draw you cards. The biggest problem was finding these cards in green and then hopefully them not being cantrips or just solely relying on creatures alone. Which I guess makes sense because green is the color of creatures in nature, so of course there should be some sort of symbiosis. The first card I want to touch on in this category is Biomantic Mastery. I should probably learn how to pronounce that. So I know it's a hybrid spell. It's blue and green, so it's not necessarily a green card. But seeing as I've been focusing a lot on casual, I wanted to just show like a powerful draw spell in multiplayer. The only problem with this card is mana cost. It costs 7, which isn't hard for green to get up to, but if you play this card right, you will be drawing a lot of cards. So unless our friend Myojin of Life's Web is helping out, you may be in for some trouble. That's why I kind of like the next two cards a little bit more. Collective Unconscious is a pretty solid green draw spell. I ran this in my casual elf deck, and thanks to cards like Wirewood Hivemaster, I was drawing out my deck and usually had a handful of threats. Regal Force is the same concept. He costs 1 more than Collective Unconscious, but he is a creature, so it makes sense. I like the fact that he counts himself, so if nothing else, you get a card off of him. I just wish he had trample. 5/5 bodies should have some sort of evasion. Soul's Might combines 2 things I love: big creatures and flash spells. I've never played with this card, but it has been played against me. Nothing is worse than seeing another aggro player outdraw you. Finally in the creature requirement section is Greater Good. I love this card. I mean, sure, you can't use it on small creatures, but let's say your Thorn Elemental is getting Doombladed. You can respond by sacking it to Greater Good and get a net gain of 4 cards. Don't see any way that would be a bad thing. Next up on our list is an Uber spell. I actually feel if Mythic Rares existed during Time Spiral block, Rites of Flourishing would be one of them. It costs 1 more than Howling Mine, but it also lets you throw down an extra land. This is a weird card, and it's part of a cycle of spells in green during Time Spiral block that let you just straight up draw cards with no string attached. Well, there's a string attached for one of them, but they don't require, to have a creature in play or something of that nature. Which reminds me, I really need a full set of Rites of Flourishing for this really fast ramp deck I want to play. Hopefully I'll post it one day. The fun with Time Spiral block continues with Harmonize. 2 and 2 green for draw 3 cards. There is nothing bad you can say here, folks. This is turn 3 playable in green and replenishes your hand after all that ramping you're usually doing. The last card I want to tackle from the Color Pie Screwing block is a creature called Heartwood Storyteller. 1 and 2 green gets you a 2/3 Tree Folk that says whenever a player plays a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. This is a great card for a few things. You know you're going to get at least 1 card out of him if your opponent tries to remove him. I also love that he was made purely with multiplayer in mind. Great for EDH/Commander and just casual play in general. He's also going to be great in Emperor, which is probably my favorite Magic format, and I will definitely be talking about that soon. I also like how you shouldn't be too afraid to attack or block with him, because 3 toughness is nothing to snuff at. Now, Kavu Lair is an odd one. He really requires you to be playing big fatties to get any use out of him, but since it's green and not blue, I guess that isn't so bad. Moltani's presence is very, very, very conditional and is only meant to be played when you know you are against blue. The plus side is that it's a turn 1 play, so your opponent has a slim chance of countering it, and each counter she casts is going to put you up a card. I wish Overwhelming Instinct was standard. Combine that with Beastmaster Ascension, and you have great synergy. This card really speaks to the aggro side of green, and I really ain't got nothing bad to say about it. The next 2 cards are pretty interesting, and I have played with them in draft. Momentous Fall and Palaka Worm are another sign of synergy or just being good cards. I'm thinking of adding Palaka Worm to Standard Elves sideboard, so I have something to recover from RDW's Relentless Attacking. Momentous Fall never feels like a waste. I mean, sure, if you use it on a Llanowar Elf, you probably don't get full value out of it. But based on the name alone, you should be doing something bigger with this spell. Okay, so Abundance isn't really a draw spell, but I wanted to point out a way to siphon through your deck in green, and unlike Sylvan Library, it isn't going to set you back a lot. Yes, before you all start yelling at me that this is not a Sylvan Library, I already said that. But it is one of the very few cards in green that allows you to do some sort of deck manipulation. So I figured it was worth mentioning in this whole cast about drawing. Primitive Etchings is a great way to get a card in an extra card a turn. I play a deck called Unstable Mutation because of my comboing Metamorphosis with Gamekeeper to help cheat in some big fatties. If you're running a creature-heavy deck, like my Unstable Mutation deck, because it runs only 16 lands, very few non-creature spells, the mana curve is retarded. So if you're playing a creature-heavy deck like that, this card almost guarantees 2 cards a turn. I love Recycle for 2 reasons. One, it reminds me how much I miss the humorous card art that used to exist back in the day. It's also just a weird card in green. It requires you to have to maintain a maximum hand size of 2, which might seem really rough, but this card is really easily abused in green. Just remember that green plays spells really quickly and you burn through your hand quickly. So this is a way to combo out in green, and I'm going to try and build a deck around this to show you just how great you could do with this deck. Well, with this card. But seeing as how it's like 3 a.m. and I'm not sure what I want to do with that deck, I will probably make a video at some point about it. The last 2 cards, Slippery Karst and Tranquil Thicket, aren't necessarily draw spells. Yes, they're lands, so they're not even spells. But in a color with so much land ramp and creatures that produce mana, having some cycling lands in your deck, especially in casual play and definitely in EDH/Commander, is just a great idea. I try to run at least 2 cycling lands per green deck, just because I like that card draw every now and then, and you should too. Sorry for all the stumbling in this video. I might record it again. I haven't really decided yet, but and I'm also sorry that this is another video that solely focuses on green. But in my play group, I'm known as Big Green. I'm the dumb, stupid green player. So I figured I might as well just get it out of my system early on. My next video is going to be really hard for me since a friend requested that I talk about goblins. And don't get me wrong, I love me some goblins and I love me some tribal. But I know shit about making a cheap, moderate cost goblin deck. So please help me. Tweet me or comment on the video or comment over at Top Deck Hero. But please don't make me do this video alone. Anyway, until next time, keep it casual.